Hello and thank you for joining Journalist Hangout on Sunday. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. Today on the program, Governor Masari laments, says 10 out of 34 local government areas in Katsina State are under persistent bandit attack. NDLA discovers warehouse with 524 bags of cannabis in Ondo State as troops intercept another 132 bags. Reports ranks Nigeria second poorest country in the world in food affordability. And later on the show, Nigeria salvaged 1 silver and 1 bronze at Tokyo 2020 Olympics. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Adewale Adeoye, while Emmanuel Akindibua will be joining us later on sports. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. Before we go into the discussion, today's discussion, let's start by commending one of our own, Ola Awakon, over the publication of the book, Eco Poems, which he edited. The launch of the book in Lagos attracted dignitaries, including Professor Niyi Oshundari, who commended the initiative. Let's hear from the eminent professor.
I have had the opportunity of reading these poems, and I must tell you that I'm both impressed and inspired. To find young people commenting on Lagos in those various ways has been very delightful to me. There are times when adults have to learn from the wisdom of children. This is precisely what I think is behind a book, an anthology of this type. It has given us a very complex image of Lagos, the good part of it, the not so good, the beautiful, the not so beautiful. But one thing keeps coming back. The issue of diversity, that Lagos is a city for everybody and for all of us. These are children aged between 9 and 15, I think. Only one poet I encountered is 15 years old. The other ones are 9, 10, 11, 12. And it is important that they are seeing Lagos, the commercial heartbeat of Nigeria, this way. The importance of diversity, especially at this time in the history of Nigeria. Our diversity, from what these children are saying, is our strength. Our politicians have a lot to learn from these little ones. And by their names, you know that they represent the diversity that characterizes Nigeria. I'm delighted to see Igbo names, Robo names, Efik names, Yoruba names, and Tiv names, Doma names, and so on. Not only that, female names, male names, Muslim names, Christian names, African, indigenous African names. This is what Nigeria really is, and this is what I have seen in the poems of these children.
Yes, Babajide, one of our own, Ola Awakon, Eco Poems. Ola Awakon, a very, very talented reporter, and this is his area of strength.
Yes, he's an arts personality. He's good in dancing, good in dramatic arts generally, and now that he's a journalist, a reporter, I see him rise. If he keeps his head down and he remains committed, I see him rise to the level of German and Ekulapo, you know, or Ben Tomoloju. These are the big journalists when you are talking about arts reporting. Ola Awakon is living his passion. He was an advert staff when I brought him into reporting, and he has not disappointed me. It's always shown that, yes, that decision was a good one, to move him away from advert department to core reporting. I remain very proud of him for what he has achieved in just about 6 years.
I'm sure you would have seen one or two of his reports. This is somebody that is so passionate about human development reporting.
I think he has proved that irrespective of the situation we find ourselves in Nigeria, people can still be creative. And one of the greatest things people can do to leave a legacy is to write a book. He has, this is quite impressive. When younger people are thinking of other things, and he has decided to put down his thoughts, I think it's something that is worth, we need to commend him for what he has done. And I see him going on higher planes in the future ahead. And they are ahead of him.
All right. Katsina State now, according to the governor, Aminu Bello Masari, is under the grip of bandits. While playing host to the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya in Katsina, Governor Masari said 10 out of 34 local government areas of the states are under persistent attacks by bandits. Hence, the state needs help fast. Let's hear from the governor.
We must do whatever it takes to return to normalcy, so that it gives government the opportunity to really do what is supposed to be done. We are very much concerned because the purpose of governance is being seriously challenged. Because the purpose of governance is protecting lives, properties, honor and dignity of people. So when it's under attack, then the entire system is under attack. So I assure you that we will do the best we can to support the military. From what we have seen, they need logistic support. And where possible, they need numbers. We have moved into the era of technology. With technology, you can fight your wars with minimum number of personnel. So I hope that technology will be deployed, properly deployed, so that we'll be able to really bring these banditry activities under control. We are not deceiving ourselves that we will eliminate criminality. It has never been done before, cannot be done today, neither can it be done tomorrow. But you can bring it under control in such a way that it does not disturb the way of life of people. As we are seeing today, 10 out of 34 local governments are under severe attack daily. So with that in mind, there is no way we can sleep. Our phones are permanently on. To hear what is happening in local government AOCOD.
Well, actually, Zamfara State, I would think that the president is from Zamfara State and they will enjoy at least a level of respite from this banditry. But if the governor is saying 10 out of 34 local government, number one, I'm saying the numerical strength of the bandits as in 10 different local governments be operating unabated. And I want to look at that, okay, Zamfara might be a victim of what is happening in Katsina might be a victim of what is happening in Zamfara State, and now the two states now.
And Kaduna, because it shares borders with both Kaduna and Zamfara. And you know, both states are seriously heaving under the pressure from banditry. So if you are unlucky to to share borders with these states, especially Zamfara. A lot of the local governments in Katsina share boundary with Zamfara. Don't forget that even Katsina used to be part of the old Kaduna state. You know, Katsina was carved out of the old Kaduna state. So they share a lot in common. From the bandits coming all the way from Renegwari, they can come into Katsina through Sabua local government. And as we have seen too, from Zamfara, they can move in. One thing that the bandits do, one major character of the bandits is that they stay only in boundary communities. Boundary communities, so that they can link, they can move to another state when they come under attack. Check all the bandit leaders, their locations, whether it is Dankremi or Dogo Gide or Turuji, all of them, Ali Alero, Kachala, they are in boundary communities, so that they can move. For
strategic reasons.
Yes, they can move from there, enter another state, and then it becomes difficult for us to track them down. So when you go to Katsina, for example, the GBI area, the governor, when the governor said 10 local governments, he was saying daily attacks, the ones that come under daily attacks.
Frequently.
So it's not saying that bandits attack us only in 10 local governments. No, he's saying the ones where there are daily reports of armed bandits attacks. So that should tell you how terribly bad the situation is. We talked in the past about businessmen, Katsina businessmen, working in Katsina, making their money in Katsina, and going to sleep in Niger Republic. They've bought houses in Niger Republic where they rest their heads. Because every night you are not sure when these boys are coming. And when they come, as the governor said, they rape, they kidnap, they kill, they inflict injury, they rustle cattle, they burn people's houses. Nobody wants to live with that. Nobody wants to sleep in his house and not be sure that they won't set him ablaze along with the house. So people are going through a lot in Katsina, and I'm happy the governor told the chief of army staff what they are going through. The chief of army staff cannot say he's unaware of this problem. He's from Zamfara state. That is the state that in the very recent past, bandits have made a tremendous mark. So this chief of army staff knows now that he has to win this war. We had a minister of defense. Our immediate past minister of defense was from Katsina, from Zamfara state, from a local government called Brine Magaji. He couldn't defeat the bandits. He left as minister of defense, and these people have inherited this war.
Probably,
so the chief of air staff will not go. There are many of those places that people have forgotten about going home. Even in Katsina, there are places that people have stopped bothering themselves about going home. So now the chief of army staff has a duty to put an end to banditry, because it's even affecting his state more than other states. So he has to, yes, it has to be a moral burden on him that this nonsense in my state must stop. The governor of Zamfara said there are 30,000 bandits in Zamfara alone.
You know, when you count 1 to 30,000?
30,000. That means there are more than the number of security agents that we put in the northwest. You know, so it's terrible. But this is the situation. When you are talking about what they call the frontline local governments in Katsina, Dandume, Sabua, Funtua, Damusa, Jibia, Masari, Kankara, Faskari. These are 8 of the local governments that I can remember.
That's you hear news of frequent attacks.
Yes, I know that the governor could be talking about others, like even Kankia, because sometimes we hear of attacks in Kankia, all these places.
Wale, so when this problem now gradually is becoming something that we are counting months. After some time, God forbid, we might start counting years, and it's going to be like Boko Haram that started in 2009.
Yeah.
That still now, we've still not found a lasting solution to terrorism in the Northeast. So banditry is the same thing. I just remember those young boys, young girls on the streets and unemployed, jobless. So to be able to lure them into this kind of thing will be the easiest thing in the North.
Well, I think in 2019, May, when the district head of Daura was kidnapped, Alhaji Musa Umar, we were all embarrassed because that is the president's hometown. And we felt that should stimulate everyone, the governor, the federal government, to see this banditry as a major challenge. Unfortunately, it's getting bad. Don't let me say worst. Because last year, to remember what happened in December, the Kankara, girls and the boys' school, science boys' school, that are close to 300 pupils were taken away. And I think if by now we are talking about 30%, almost 30% of the entire local governments in Katsina State is under frequent attack, that is a very bad omen for us. Like Babajide said, Katsina also borders in the northern fringe, Niger Republic, which makes it easy for all sorts of elements to bring in weapons to that part of the country. And unfortunately, in spite of all efforts, I think the bandits appear to be growing wings. And that's why I think that this thing we've always been saying it's not just a problem of Katsina State alone. Katsina was created in 1987 from Kaduna State. So look at what is going on in Kaduna. Look at what is going on in Adamawa, the other areas in the old. So there must be a kind of, apart from state strategies, I know the governor has, in fact, created 3 tiers of security architecture. Getting the religious people involved, traditional rulers. But in spite of all this, the problem continues. So there should be a kind of regional cooperation. All the states in that area, in the Northwest, should see this problem as a collective challenge. Because if Katsina is not safe, then the other neighboring states, it's a matter of time, will also be affected. A lot of people are migrating, not just rich men that are going to Niger Republic to spend the night. Look how, ordinary people are leaving, Katsina State either to go to Kano or to leave for Abuja.
Just to stay alive.
So I think, and there's nothing, it's really going to be very difficult for the governor to have, to develop the state, road construction, provision of health in local areas when you have a case of insecurity. So it's going to affect overall, it's going to affect agriculture. It's going to affect almost every aspect of human development. So I think it should not be left for Katsina alone. We need a national response, we need a regional response, and then bilateral cooperation with the neighboring African states like Niger Republic.
As Wale said, there can't be meaningful development if these states, no matter what they're doing. Look at Borno State now. As much as Governor Zulum would love to replicate those schools, fine schools in Maiduguri, to put it dare not build that kind of school outside Maiduguri.
No. Even in places, that you reconstructed, they said those buildings are ablaze again.
Billions.
I know that Bama, for example, has been rebuilt 2 times. That's the commercial capital of Borno State. Bama is been rebuilt 2 times. The Kwa a lot of the new buildings, health facilities that the government put in place when Boko Haram overran the town some months back. What did they do? They set ablaze some of those government. Yes, people can set ablaze army bases, set ablaze armor tanks. You saw the pictures now when the governor visited that area, you know. So what won't they do? This is the reason we have to defeat these guys. If we don't defeat them, then we have ourselves to blame. We can't take development to the different areas of the states. The governor of Borno State, just like his predecessor, has picked up valuable lessons. You will not hear of Boko Haram kidnapping schoolboys and girls in Borno because they've simply locked up those schools in the hinterland and decided to build giant schools in Maiduguri, giant schools that are safe. And Borno is making money off the World Bank because in terms of school enrollment, it is doing better than other Nigerian states. Borno State got more money from the World Bank because of his school, huge school enrollment. Over even Kaduna and some other states.
IDPs.
School enrollment.
Yes, people want people in IDP, they want to enroll.
Yeah. I mean, the way they do it, those like this year now, how many were you able to enroll fresh? They look at all those figures. Now people can see that the state capital is safe, and the beauty of those schools is an attraction on its own for people to feel. You need to go to Borno and see one primary school that was named after the First Lady, Aisha Buhari. No child will get to that school and will not want to go to school the next day because all of the things that they play with and the sweet colors, you know the way they paint children's, just like our own crèche. Those sweet colors that children like, they used those colors to paint those schools. So they now have an unusually high school enrollment, which is fetching them because World Bank rewards states for new enrollment. So they have simply found a solution. You will not be able to kidnap our children after what you did in Chibok. So we keep them safe here. Even in Monguno, where we have the garrison command, the government didn't think because there is a big army base there that they should leave the school. They didn't. They relocated the Unity School there. They relocated it to Maiduguri. They are now using the Muhammadu Buhari Academy as the school for the unit for the federal government Girls College Monguno. That's why I'm disappointed in those of them in Kebbi, where you saw clearly that school was under threat. You got reports that they were going to attack the school, yet you listen to federal authorities who told you that don't worry, the exams are just they've almost finished the exam, let them finish the exam.
Exam for safety.
And then they came, took those children are still there.
They're still there. Yeah. I'm telling you, I don't know what they'll be eating. I don't know how they'll be living.
Not less than 90 of them in that place. We still have not less than 90 of those in the hands of those people. And they are saying, no, we don't want to negotiate with the parents. It's government that want to negotiate with. We don't want to negotiate with parents. Now, so what do parents do? And government is saying, no, we don't want to negotiate with bandits. Now, even the hunters that were told to go and look for these children, they have said that they are tired of because the state government doesn't appear to be serious. They are accusing Governor... what's his name again? Remind me of the Kebbi governor's name.
But Atiku Bagudu.
Atiku Bagudu. That he doesn't appear to be serious about the welfare of those children. Therefore, the hunters have said, no, we too, we are not looking.
How many disasters?
Are you empowering the hunters to do the job? And here was a governor who said he felt like leading the war. Did you read that story then?
Yes.
That he felt like leading the battle to where those people are. No, but they are not leading battle. They are more interested in playing politics.
Okay, I have dilemma. Philip is calling us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Philip.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I want to make my contribution.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, this issue of banditry. You know, before APC came to power, we had so many things, and everybody believed that with the general on seat, where Boko Haram banditry, all the banditry even came, after Boko Haram. And we are believing that when a general is on seat, being the head of state, all these things would have been tackled without, wasting time. But unfortunately, his own state is the one. Yeah.
I think Phillips, the emphasis there.
We said
it's the president's state. That's where we started from.
Yes, so if you can go ahead and kidnap the president's in-law, because that person that is talking about is an in-law of the president. So what? The rest of us,
I'm telling you,
now can we say we are safe? I mean, it's really perplexing that people can't feel safe. We want the attacks. The army, my problem with the armed forces is when they kill a number of people, they will start announcing, we have done this, we have killed this. Don't announce your exploits. By the time you kill these people, starting with their leaders, Nigerians will know. I've said it before, all of those bandit leaders, we have not succeeded in killing a single leader.
You've been mentioning their names.
We have not one. Even the ones, why won't I know them? I've gone to interview bandits before now. You remember, in 2019, I know the camp. If you kill today, you kill Dogo Gide, who spearheaded the kidnap of those innocent boys in Kagara. If you kill Turji, who had the guts to tell us that why should we arrest his father? If you kill Dankremi, the people will know. They will know. If you kill Kachala, people will know.
It's a notorious character.
Yes, they know the people, and the funny things, people know where their camps are. If you go to GBR today, except that the Okada rider will be afraid. If you say, take me to the camp of Dangote in Shimfida, he will take you on a bike and go there. After all, even our friend, the Secretary of the Government of Katsina, we saw him. He went to Dangote's camp to negotiate with him. Now we saw him on bike going inside. This is not a secret. The video is there. The governor of Katsina is frustrated. He has done everything. He brought them. He said, "Okay, take the Quran. Swear that you will not kill people again." One of them swore that, okay, he will not go back to banditry. That's Daudawa. Daudawa, when he saw that he was no longer making the kind of money he was making in the forest, he returned to the forest, and one of the rivals killed him. We lost Buhari Ndaji, not to the armed forces of Nigeria. It was Dogo Gide that went to kill him there. Yes, it was Dogo Gide that went to kill him inside Dansadao forest. Daudawa too, we lost him, not as a result of military action, but because one of the rivals said, okay, you said you have stopped kidnapping, that you swore with the Holy Quran in the presence of the governor and other people. Now you have come back to the forest. They killed him. We want to see our armed forces take out their leaders. When you take out their leaders, they will be demoralized. Take out their leaders.
Wally, your last take on this?
Well, the thing is that the efforts made by the governor have been made will not be enough unless we tackle the problem of over-concentration of security architecture. For instance, the governor trained 554 youths as police constables, but special constables. But they were asked not to be armed. So that's a minor. So how are they going to fight?
The same thing in Niger.
So as long as we have over-concentration of police architecture, there is no way we'll be able to tackle this problem. Let us decentralize police so that Katsina can recruit local people, arm them. They live among these people. They know their territories, they know their parents, and they know that it's a responsibility to protect their ancestral homes. They will fight to the last pint of their blood, So we need to decentralize security architecture so that there should be some level of authority, by the state governors.
All right, moving on now. For the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, the war against drug abuse is a relentless one. In Ondo State, NDLEA officials discovered a warehouse where 524 bags of cannabis were stored. Also, soldiers from the 32 Artillery Brigade, Akure, intercepted 132 bags of cannabis worth 5.8 million naira at 2 separate locations in the states. Let's share the story with TVC's news correspondent, Ayodeji Muradeyo.
This operation was carried out at Egbeta, the boundary of Ondo and Edo states. Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, were on a mission to a warehouse where bags of India M were kept. After hours of driving, the NDLEA officials trekked into the bush.
No, they will spread at different places. Different places so they cannot get checked.
With determination, they burst the warehouse where 524 bags of India M were stockpiled for possible movement to buyers. Due to logistics, they burned 361 bags at the scene and moved out others. 2 bags of cannabis seeds and 2 suspects were also arrested at the warehouse.
The warehouse belongs to...
The acting commander of the agency says the state is unsafe for Indian cultivators and traffickers.
Nigeria will be too hot for you to hide. We advise you to look for another business. Cannabis sativa, cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, skunk, Colorado, chua-chua, tramol, anything you call it. Lao. What be the other one? The gas, squishes, ice. We are looking everywhere. You may not know that the next person standing beside you is an NDLEA officer.
While the owner of the warehouse is still at large, the commander expressed their readiness to embark on aggressive patrol to curb the menace.
We are out to make sure that there is no hiding place. Anywhere you are, our CCE, His Excellency, General Buba Marwa, retired, OFR, he has given us the mandate. And we are here to ensure that that mandate is carried out. Nigeria must be rid of drug abuse. Nigeria must be rid of merchants of debt.
As the search for the owner of the warehouse continues, the NDLEA says it will not rest on its laurels to ensure that the state is rid of Indian cultivators and traffickers. Ayodeji Muradeyo, TVC News, Akure.
At Iswa military checkpoint with 50 bags, I'm assigned to formally hand over the suspects and the items, the exhibits, which were listed, because we have some cash, some other items, phone, handsets. I hereby hand them over to you for your further action as the agency of government responsible for this purpose.
State Commander, Ondo State Command of NDLEA. We are here formally to receive the seized items from drug peddlers. You heard the Major talking about those items that have been seized by them. They include 132 bags of Indian hemp, or that is for the layman. For us, we call it cannabis sativa. Now, the instrument they use in facilitating these drug items include 3 Sienna buses. They are packed there as well, and they will be handed over to us as well.
I don't know what it is with the Sunshine State, my own state, with cannabis sativa. I don't understand, because Ondo State seems to be the champion when it comes to the growing of this very deadly...
when it comes to growing cannabis, You people can represent us in the Olympics. You know, and you bring home the gold.
Everywhere. It seems to be a very lucrative trade.
So it's, the tradition has been there for so long. The tradition has been there, and it's like some parents inherited it from their own forebears, and they are handing it
to their children.
Over to their children. So they are reluctant to give it up. And we just have to tell ourselves, ask ourselves whether indeed Indian hemp is a banned substance, because it's becoming more or less like something.
We are being hypocritical about it.
No, we are not. The enforcement is really not there, because even some of the policemen who are supposed to enforce it, they are bloody hemp smokers. I've seen there was an uncompleted building that used to be on my uncle's street. One policeman, once it is around 2 o'clock, he will show up there. Not to arrest the smokers, he's coming to smoke his own. And of course, some of the boys will give him
similar.
Yeah, they will give him extra this, so that they will not feel like harassing them. So the enforcement is not enough. You even see, even hotels where it is written, no smoking of Indian hemp permitted here. You will see these boys, they will, and guests too. In the past, it was strange to see guests. Almost impossible to see girls in public.
Right now,
in public smoking hemp.
Parents will be shocked.
In today's Nigeria, even from the cradle, girls from secondary school, they are already learning how to smoke. Yeah. You see beautiful girls. Some of them, their lives will be in ruins if they are not allowed to smoke. They can't do without it. It's been with them for years.
And they have different names for this thing.
A lot of them.
Loud.
I've seen some videos that we've seen on social media where you see someone apparently running mad, just dumping. But at the same spot, they will pour in water. The idiots will not even show any sign of recovery. Yet, people will still not learn.
You are tampered with that brain.
They will still not learn from him. They will be pouring him all kinds of. No, the boy will not even be able to. He does not know where he is. He can't explain his actions anymore. So, if we say Indian hemp is banned, the enforcement has to be better than we are doing now. Go around, even near police stations, you see people selling Igbo near police stations. They will go and bribe policemen, at the end of the day, nobody will touch them. You see bus drivers in their motor parks smoking Igbo, as if we have lifted the ban on its consumption. I
think with the coming to the table with General Bubamarwa has changed the narrative for NDLA, because the last time I heard about NDLA activity was during the time of General Bamayi.
Yeah.
As at that time, the fight was so vigorous and intensified. So NDLA went to sleep.
Many of the even musicians ran away.
NDLA was very active that time and everything. Now, since the coming into office of General Buba Marwa, now we've been hearing the activities across the country.
Yeah, I think Marwa always makes impact, even when he was governor of Lagos State under military regime. It was this regime that for the first time I saw that they were doing fumigation of our streets against mosquitoes when it was the military.
Lagos State.
Yes, I was so impressed, and now as an NDLA chairman, I'm not surprised. He has built that.
That agency has been sleeping. Has been coma.
I think it's not just what happened in Rose. In Sokoto State, they seized cocaine worth 1 billion. In Yobe State, they seized the cannabis worth 10 million. Almost every month.
Every day now we get updates from Fembaba.
So I think, like we have said, the Edo State, Edo, Ekiti, Ondo, they are more or less like the epicenter of.
They'll take the gold, silver,
of the
and
production of. I think why it has been very difficult is that to tame this problem. It is not really a crime committed by poor people alone. In fact, most of the time, elite, rich men, lawyers, professionals, you see that And it has taken different forms of
they
usage.
think it's even status symbols.
Yeah.
Some
people mix it with as tea. So there's no way you even know. You
There's a lot of experiments surrounding this thing.
You will not know. Then we have the vaporized version that you smoke it and then you inhale the vapor.
What they call it? Shisha.
Yeah.
So sometimes that one is not Igbo.
No, they use
but
they use cannabis.
There's one stupid boy who is close to me who did not know that they had dropped the thing there. So it was one of our friends' birthday. He got there. So he too said he wanted shisha. They gave him. He just passed out like that.
Yeah. I think shisha is different.
But they dropped. I think they dropped some.
It must be Igbo
flavor.
Yes. And you know, even women who do their hair, they use cannabis because it enhances growth. It's very common. You may not know. You know, barbies. I mean. Salutes, you know, and all that. So
they also use it for cake. Or they
yes,
bake,
for cake, you know, cookies.
No, I think NDLE they started arresting people because online people bake cakes. They will bake cake. They will think it's ordinary.
I saw a woman, a daughter that was arrested, you know, because they put Indian hemp in cake.
Yeah.
So you can easily eat cake at
yes, you know.
But overall, cannabis is bad. Because it affects the brain receptors, you know, and when that happens, within the next 15 minutes, you see uncoordinated movement, loss of concentration, illusion, and even among children, it could induce suicide instincts among younger people. And if you go to some secondary schools now, it's common, you know. And then when you look at the end users, bandits, you know, terrorist organizations, you know, cult movements and cult organizations. So who use it probably because they want to carry out devilish acts and they think they have to be high. So I think it's a very dangerous substance and we need coordinated response. Not just, you know, going to the forest, getting the bags. From the elements of, you know, from the time they start growing these things in the forest, you should be able to prevent it. And then we need, I think they acted on for intelligence. Because there are you know, hundreds of people that must have worked on the farms. They employ people, so it's not something that you can do alone.
Very lucrative.
It's, you know, it has a kind of a chain, a network. So it should not be so difficult for the government to track them down. But then we also need to look at the proposal of the governor of Ondo State.
Because
he's talking about coordinated cultivation for medical use. But I think it's going to be more difficult now because if you look at the environment, operating environment, to now talk about medical use, you know, it's going to be very difficult. But it's not something
when the cultivation is not even allowed.
Yes, so you can't be talking about
it like this. By
so
the time you now allow them to
be,
and a lot of them will say it's for medical use. Well, they are just to make themselves feel high.
All right, I have the spokesman of NDLEA, Femi Babafemi, joins us via Zoom for more insight on this battle against drugs in the country. Hey, Babafemo.
Yeah, AY, thank you very much. Thank you, Jide. Thank you,
Wale
Adeoye. Yes. I've enjoyed you so far.
Thanks. Now we want to ask you, how has the war been since your new boss took over? What fresh impetus has he brought into the war, and are we certain to win this war?
Absolutely, I can assure you that we are moving towards winning the war, going by the statistics of the activities of the agency from the beginning of this year up to this very moment. It's most certainly we're on the right path, and giving all the necessary support that we need from stakeholders like you, the media, as well as the entire citizenry, would definitely win the war. I mean, it's not for us a kilogram or even a gram of illicit drug seized out there is a kilogram less what is available for people to abuse or to use. And in a situation where within a very short time, you are talking of seizure of over 2 million kilograms of assorted illicit drugs. That is huge. And within this space of time, we've been able to arrest more than 5,000 people. 5, and out of this 5,000 traffickers, 5,000 persons connected to bordering on trafficking and use of illicit substances And out of this figure, we've been able to, don't let us also forget one fact. Our work rests basically on two planks. That is drug supply reduction, where we have the real law enforcement, arrest, seizures, and prosecution. And on the other plank, that is drug demand reduction, where we also do the work of advocacy, counseling, and rehabilitation. And with the figure that is over 5,000 arrests so far, more than 500 of them in the last 6 months have been jailed and are serving jail terms at the moment. And more than 3,000 of them are still facing charges. Out of that, we've counseled and rehabilitated over 2,000 of them. That is huge. So to answer Jide specifically, I can tell you with these statistics, with these figures, these are figures of statistics that probably the agency might not have been able to record in the past year for a whole year or 2 years, but within a space of 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. That NDLA was in coma. There was we weren't anything about NDLA till General Mara was appointed again in that position.
Yeah, it's all basically. I can tell you that the workforce of the agency has not changed. It's only probably some things have been rejigged and coming with a new leadership. Fortunately, Adeoye mentioned that given the antecedent of General Marwa, is somebody that will always want to succeed in whatever assignment he's found himself across this country. I'm sure we have his records, whether as military governor in Borno State or as military administrator in Lagos State. He's somebody that has always tried to make impact wherever he's found himself. And in this case, honestly, the officers and men of the agency are really, really, really appreciative of his leadership, and that is why they are taking all the risks and ready to do everything he asks them to do in terms of mopping up illicit substances from every part of this country. Like just a few minutes ago, I did release a statement on the operations the agency had undergone in the last 1 week. That is between 1st of August and yesterday, Saturday. I can tell you that in that operation, more than 8,000 kilograms of assorted illicit drugs were recovered from about 7 states across the country: Ondo State, Edo State, Anambra State, Bauchi State, Adamawa State, and Anambra State. So that is huge. When you talk of more than 8,000 kilograms of assorted illicit drugs, that is huge. I can tell you, because a gram alone can cause a lot of havoc in the life of an individual. So when you talk of over 8,000 kilograms, not gram, now 8,000 kilograms, that is huge. And we are happy that we're getting support from the citizens, and that's why we keep pushing for the citizens to buy in and take ownership of the war. That is the war against drug abuse, because when they take ownership of it, it helps. It makes the job of the NDLA a little bit easier, because that way we know that we're not the only one involved. We know that we have partners in the citizens themselves who ultimately end up as victims of these criminal gangs if we don't do anything about it. So that's so far where we are. Yes, please.
Do you guys support this proposed controlled cultivation of the cannabis for health reasons? There have been a call like that.
I'm glad that Jide and Adeoye had also answered that question for me, Ayo, because you see, for instance, I know the state where that is being proposed at the moment, you would have seen the record of seizures in just 1 week from that state alone. So just imagine, this time around, it's not. I'm even shocked that it's not even about cannabis that is being seized. Now all manner of drugs, illicit drugs, are being seized from that particular part of the country, which is not too good, and I think is something that calls for urgent action, by the leadership of the state. It's something that calls for concern by the leadership of the state. So it's something very serious that we all need to rise up against. As much as NDLA is doing its part, we need every stakeholder in that state to also do their own bit, because when you are talking, when you are having this kind of challenge and now you are talking of legalizing, how do you legalize in the situation we are, where we know that there is a strong nexus between criminal activities and drug abuse in our society, in our own part of the world. So how do you legalize that kind of a substance? Then it's like you are trying to say that you want to create a fiefdom or a country of mad people, of junkies. It's not something really good for us if we want to. I mean, it's not even about, for me, all the arguments that have been put forward. The strongest of the argument had always been for economic reasons. And I asked one question. If you want to make money through legalization of cannabis, then you would have been losing double on public health, on mental care alone. So how do you balance? How do you prioritize economic benefits far and above mental health, the well-being of your people, law and order in the country? It's not logical. It doesn't add up. So that's why we believe that that kind of argument does not suffice and does not help our situation in the country at the moment, given the security situation we have across the country.
Yeah, I would like to know what you are doing about public enlightenment to dissuade people from using cannabis, especially among students, primary, secondary school, university students, to dissuade them, because if you can reduce the consumption, that will actually affect the growth.
Because the market is there now.
That's like one at the moment. We have two things we're doing. The first thing is the interception, blocking access to these drugs, blocking access to them. And I can tell you that is working for us, because at the moment, for instance, if you look at a drug like tramadol that used to be 20 naira per capsule before, is now 500 naira per capsule, meaning that it's not accessible. They are not getting it easy. So, and I have also followed some discussions online where some of these young minds are complaining that the prices of loud or skunk, they are getting out of their reach because we're cutting accessibility to these drugs. Then two, in the area of advocacy, we have also been pushing for drug tests, not only for people seeking public offices, but for students, whether fresh students or returning students. We have also been pushing for that, because when we conduct this, it will serve two purposes. One, it will serve the purpose of deterrence. Once you know that before you get admitted into the school, you will be tested, and if you are tested, if you test positive, you may not be able to join your mates for that section. Then you will think twice. Two, we also believe that drug tests would help to discover early enough some of these students that are abusing drugs. And when we discover early enough, the better they are treated, because drug addiction is like just any other ailment. And that's why we're trying to, we don't want to criminalize it like as that, so that people that are already suffering this ailment would be able to come out and seek for help. Because if we don't encourage them to come out and seek help, they may be dying in silence or instrumentally, and we don't want the active population of our country to die in silence. And that's why we're pushing for drug tests, across all boards, so that this will help in deterring people from engaging or from indulging in drug abuse. Then beyond that, we're also trying to mobilize, quite a number of stakeholders. From the state level, we are asking that at the state, at the local government level, at the community level, faith-based organizations, community-based organizations, to set up drug control committees in form of that will coordinate the war against drug abuse in their communities and in their areas of responsibility, so that it will be difficult for people in that particular location, in that particular community, either to sell or to even buy and use these illicit substances. So these are the things, and what you are also doing this afternoon is contributing to that effort. That is by bringing out the issue to the front line.
Femi, let's see you spoke about NDLA, they spoke about terrorism, banditry, terrorism, and drugs some months back, that there's a kind of, what do you call it?
Nexus.
Link between terrorism, banditry, and drug abuse. And you've been able to intercept people that are major suppliers and conduit pipes to these terrorists.
Absolutely. We have, before we could come out to say that, I'm sure you also know that General Marwa is a retired military officer, retired army general, so who has his own links within the system. And then I'm also privy to some interactions he's had with some victims of kidnap and some people that had gone into the bandits' enclaves, just to find out what is happening as far as drug use is concerned in that in the forest. And we've been able to establish that these people, they can't do what they are doing out of a clear mind. So they need to alter their mind. They need to suppress their humanity before they can go out to go and kidnap 300 school children, before they can go out to go and kidnap 80-year-old, 90-year-old men and women for ransom. You know, the kind of things they do, they are not things you would, you can think a normal human being will do. And so what they use, what they use what boosts their mind is to do this kind of thing is these drugs. You see, because their minds need to be altered before they can be able to do what they are doing. And that's why from even victims, we've been able to ask them what happened in their camps, and the victims have been able to say that these guys pop opioids almost every hour, and they are continuously on smoking India hemp, continuously, non-stop. And we've had also people that had interacted with them. And beyond that, even those that had been arrested, some of the bandits that have been arrested, you see, when they are in custody, after 1-2 days, when they don't have access to these illicit substances, they start showing withdrawal syndromes. That is because that drug is no longer in their system or is wearing out. So they'll start misbehaving. They become restless. They become agitated because a lot of them will prefer to have drugs in their system than to even have AK-47 rifles in their hands. Because with the AK-47 in their hands, without drugs in their system, they can't even go out and face our security operatives. So it's these drugs that embolden them to go out, to give them a sense of invisibility and to do what they are doing. So we have, that is established, it's an evidence-based fact that there is a strong nexus between drug abuse and the state of insecurity we have across the country. Whether you talk of insurgency in the northeast, you talk of banditry in the northwest, you talk of kidnap for ransom in the north central, and other security challenges in southeast, south-south, and southwest, all across the country. All of this at the basis is the problem of drug abuse.
I want to thank you, Femi Babafemi, the spokesperson of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Thank you so much for your contribution and this enlightenment.
Thank you very much, Ayo, Jide, and Adewale Adeoye. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. It's been our friend, one of our own. Femi, Babafemi. Femi used to be the spokesperson for EFCC at the point in time, under Farida Osiri, Sunday editor of Sun newspaper, now doing it for the National
War against drugs.
Drug peddlers. All right, we'll take this break now. When we come back, we'll discuss more. Please don't go away. It's still Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Thank you for staying with us. This is Journalist Hangout on Sunday, and I still have Wale Adeoye and Babajide Kolade Ositoju in the house. And moving on, it is worrisome that the cost of living in Nigeria is getting higher. A new report by the Institute of Development Studies in the UK has rated Nigeria as the second poorest country in the world in food affordability. The reality of that report is not far-fetched. TVC News reports on the rising cost of food in Lagos in June tells us more. Let's share the story by Abimbola Agbebi with you.
Food is essential to the development of the body. Hence, it is one of the 3 basic needs of life. As essential as food is to human existence, its availability is most of the time determined by power of the purse of individuals. Startling revelations emerged during our visits to different markets in Lagos, as it was discovered that prices of major food items are already hitting the rooftop. Not satisfied with what I saw, I decided to visit the popular Mile 12 International Market in K2 area of Lagos, having visited other markets across the state. The K2 Mile 12 Market, which is the home of perishable foodstuff, is also known as the vegetable hub of West Africa. As one of the biggest marketplaces in the state, it is generally known for flexibility in the cost of major food items. It is where food products coming from within and outside the state land, serving as a meeting point for buyers and sellers. Here, food items are generally perceived to be cheap when compared to other markets. But this was not true on my visit to the market this day, as Salisu Usman, a bell pepper seller, laments high cost of this food item.
Pepper now they say the full last 2 months where they go they sell bag 30,000. They say 28. Some people that buy, some people that talk say the market is too expensive. But the two are at money sometimes.
Aziz, a yam seller, also shared his story.
How much for your yam? My yam is 3.5 last. That one, na last price at the seller.
How many is this one?
Na 5 pieces.
And it's 3.5?
3.5 last.
How much did they sell before?
Before, then they sell on 1.5. Now when you don't cost, that is why everything costs.
Before na 1.5?
Before na 1.5, yes. So before making 300. Now on 700, then the seller now making 3.5. People they buy on sumo, but tell then they buy on well. But now on market no day.
Here is a market survey of major food items in Lagos, showing a shift in the prices recently. A bucket of gari, which was sold for 700 naira last year, is now selling for 1,100 naira, while the bag now sells for 16,000 naira. A bag of imported rice, popularly known as foreign rice, is now 26,000 naira, as against the old price of 23,000 naira. Also, a bag of local rice now goes for 22,500 naira, which is still a bit stable, as there is not much difference in the price. A big bag of beans, popularly known as oloyin, now goes for 62,000 naira, which was sold for 28,000 naira last year. The prices of vegetable oil keep fluctuating, as these foodstuff traders share our thoughts on the present situation in the markets.
You can't buy, you can't sell. We know when price is high, people don't buy. Bottle of groundnut oil is 650. The thing we used to sell 400 before. Things are expensive. Too much. People are suffering. See bucket of gari, 1,100. 500 naira bucket before. Beans, this one. This pen is 2,400. A bag of beans, 60,000. 70. Gombe, 60. Real Mediguri, 70. It's expensive. I'm not making anything. If you make it, so buy meat, if I carry money now, I wanted to buy meat. I get there. If you see meat of 5,000, my sister, too small. I did not buy one fish. They will say 1.5. We don't know where we are going. We are just praying that God should help us. Maybe somebody hold 3,000. Let me come to market. You buy a bottle of Ororo 650. Means 1,000 meats. If they cut it for you, it's not up to 10. So what are we saying? They are managing. They should help us. We are suffering. The masses is suffering.
Because I have little children, they must eat, but they prefer rice to beans. The beans I was buying it for, as at last year, I was buying for 800, 900. But now it is 2,200 for the Oloyin. Then the ordinary one is 2,002 or 2,003, as the case may be. So the rice I just bought small here now. They said the bag is 22,500, but I don't have money for bag, so I just bought a pint. She managed to sell for me for 2,000 naira for a pint. So that was what. The pint is for 30 anyway. If they open the border, it will come down. At Christmas, the thing came down to 20,000, and we bought for like 1.8 per pint. But now it has gone back to, some people sell for 24, some people sell 20. We just have to buy it because we cannot eat the money, as I have said. We can't eat the money. So somehow we look for like tomatoes, the one that is a bit broken. I bought some potato now, the broken one. So that's it. So meat, to make end meat.
Ẹran ọ̀pọ̀ ọ̀wọ́n gidi gan ni. Ọ̀wọ́n àwa ga àtúnwà lọ àríra níbi tó wọ́n dé. Ẹyọ kan báyìí is 4,000 naira. Òǹlẹ́lẹ́yìí méjèèjì jẹ́ 8,000 naira. Tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ 2,500, 2,000 naira. Gbogbo nǹkan tí wọ́n o, ẹ bá wa sọ fáwọn ìjọba kí wọ́n bá wa já gbogbo ẹ̀ wálẹ̀ o. Ṣé gbọ́?
For this market official, prices of most of the food items have skyrocketed for various reasons, most especially these perishable food items. Top on the list of reasons he gave is rising insecurity in the northern part of the country.
The market is mostly expensive, especially tomatoes. This is a season because normally every year this is how we encountered it. At times when the rain started in the north, you find that the first rain washes off all the tomatoes. We cannot expect tomatoes to come down. Luckily, by end of this June, because the one of Southwest is coming out, that's the way we have an assistance. When our tomatoes from the north is going down, then the one of the Southwest is coming up. There is many challenges along the way. Even most of our traders is at risk along while traveling, and even though some of them going back, they are at risk because mostly you find people and afraid of these kidnappers. No one, somebody, even at the farm, people are being kidnapped. So there are many challenges. But we are just praying, inshallah, God will take control of all the situation we are facing in the country.
Meanwhile, for the first time in many months, recall that the inflation rate in Nigeria moderated by 0.05% to 18.12% in April from 18.17% recorded in March 2021. The ease in inflation was said to have been influenced by a decline in the food index, which the National Bureau of Statistics said stood at 22.72% in April 2021, compared with 22.95% in March 2021, reflecting a reduction by 0.23%. However, in the month under consideration, there were still increases in the price of coffee, tea, bread, cereals, and other food items. On whether government can help reduce the growing burden, some Nigerians are indifferent as they struggle to live with the challenges.
If there is something they can do, they would have done it long time ago, but they have not done anything. So we, the ordinary people, will just have to make a way for ourselves because we cannot depend on the government anymore.
Rising insecurity in the northern part of the country tops the list of the challenges traders here have had to grapple with. When it comes to getting these food items down to the southwestern part of the country, now they want government to come to their rescue so that life can be better for residents. Abimbola Agbebi, TVC News, Lagos.
All right. Wale Adeyi, I wanted to ask, now from this report now, as in, what will it take me to feed a family of 5? That's okay. I have my wife and 3 kids.
You know, my greatest worry, I tried to do an analysis of how somebody
with the prices of this
30,000 naira as minimum wage with a family of 5. 30,000 naira probably will take you for, if you manage, maybe 1 week.
1 week?
Maybe 1 week. Because we are not just talking of food.
Depending on where you live.
If you want to eat meat, you want to make soup?
Yes. Maximum 1 week. 30,000 naira. We are not talking of accommodation. We are not talking of electricity bill. We are not talking of to recharge, your phone, school fees. So I'm really worried. And if you look at the countries that they group Nigeria with, Sudan, Southern Sudan, DR Congo, Syria, Afghanistan. These are war-torn countries. It's embarrassing. In the whole of West Africa, you find Nigeria is supposed to be the giant of Africa, being isolated and associated with this country. Oh, this is embarrassing. Because the most important thing in life is access to food. That will depend your health. Food affordability. It's going to determine how long. It's going to influence how long you are going to live. It's going to influence the IQ of children. Most children that have access to quality food are more intelligent than those who don't have access to. And you see, these countries are associated with instability, insecurity, displacement of populations, indigenous populations, lack of respect for the rule of law. So I feel so embarrassed that we find Nigeria among. And you see the group that organized that came out with that report, Global Network Against Food Crisis. It's a reputable organization supported by the EU, and you say so. You can't say it's just a report. It's a very important organization that
when we got the report, we had to pay back our own reports. That investigation in our marketplaces.
Agriculture is supposed to be the oldest trade of man. How we now get to this level?
Is Kaduna had warned that we were risking food insecurity. Many people had raised an alarm that look, things are getting bad and will get worse if we do not fix the insecurity that is ravaging our country. So it's not something that is a surprise to anyone. Food items like bread, cereals, milk, eggs, fish, soft drinks, tea, fruits, meat, oils, vegetables, they are very expensive. And even the World Bank says the rising inflation in our country has pushed 7 million more Nigerians below poverty line.
That's
and
$2 per day.
They also cited the huge burden of insecurity on food production. So if all our major food production belts are facing security problems, how do farmers then bring out produce from those places? So we need to solve the problem quickly.
And when you look at the reality of this now is that people are starving.
Yes.
If you know the number of people that we just, if for some of us that were on the social media, people that send direct messages to you, Judy, I don't know, maybe you experienced this. DM, just say, look, this is my account number. If it's just 2,000 naira, if it's just 1,000 naira.
Every day. And that's why I pity those who are public officers. Because even we that were not public officers, just journalists, we receive these things every day. That people just want to eat and they cannot afford it.
Survival.
And like Babajide said, if you don't tackle the issue of insecurity, how did you want to, produce?
Okay, look at fish now. Titus fish.
Yeah, everything.
A kilo is above 1,000 naira.
Yes, it's over 1,000 naira. Even gari that used to be the most common food for the poor man, it has gone up. It has gone up. So it's a major crisis, and it has the capacity to destabilize the political economy and the democratic structures unless we find a solution to it. Because we are growing up to see almost every community having farms. Secondary schools were having farms. People cannot go to their farms because of insecurity. So we need to find a solution to the problem of insecurity if we really want to address this issue of food scarcity.
We can stand any other thing. Nigerians are very strong people. And as we used to say on this program, they are not asking for much. But if something as basic as food begins to be a big threat to regular man on the streets, that will make this situation, it will aggravate, escalate the insecurity that we have on ground.
Yes, because everyone wants to survive, and criminals would continue to find food soldiers amongst the hungry population. This is the thing. There are some Nigerians who have never seen a 1,000 naira note, who have never owned a 1,000 naira note, as in this note belongs to me, you know. So with poverty running rampant in our country, you can be sure that insecurity will also continue to grow up. So even in addressing insecurity, we need to address poverty as well, you know. We need to address poverty, make life more meaningful for our people, so that they won't find them as ready food soldiers for evil-minded people.
All right, we'll go on this break, and when we come back, we'll talk sports on the last segment of Journalist Hangout Sunday. Stay with us. Oh, joining us now is Emmanuel Akiribu. Emmanuel, nice to have you.
Good to be here as always.
All right. For Nigeria as a country, the Tokyo 2020 Olympics was a sort of sporting disaster after much scandals, disqualifications, and disappointments. The country managed to win just 2 medals, a silver by Blessing Oboro-Dudu in wrestling and a bronze by Esebrume in long jump. Many wonder how we got into this Olympic mess. Let's hear from Blessing and Ese.
And I give God the glory. I was the first to create in the history of Nigerian wrestling, to be the first to win a silver medal, and also the first black woman to wrestle to the final. It is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. I give him praise. I'm thanking the minister for his support. He visited us in the camp in Bayelsa, and he said he's very sure that wrestling is going to bring a medal. And to God be the glory, we have a medal. And I also want to thank the Nigerian Wrestling Federation President, Honorable Dr. Daniel Ikali. He never loses hope on me. He always believed that one day I will make him proud and make Nigeria proud, and also make Bayelsa State proud, and wish dream come true with a silver medal at the Olympics Tokyo 2020. It was 18 of joy getting to the final, and according to my coaches and the president, they said I did not go all out to wrestle for the gold, but I did. I tried my best to wrestle and go for the gold, but my best was the silver, and I give God the glory.
It was exciting. I'm very happy. I'm grateful to God for the opportunity. And most importantly, I'm not just an Olympian, I'm an Olympic bronze medalist. It wasn't easy though. I want to say thanks to my coach, because he's the one that nurtured me to this level. I would say that I'm so grateful to him. It would have been, one thing of joy if I had gotten the gold, but I'm super grateful to God that I still made it. I didn't miss any. I was still able to get a medal to my name, and to the name of my federation, and also to Nigeria as a whole, and to my family, my coach, and everyone who has supported me. And hopefully, by the grace of God, I pray that I'll be able to make it to the gold medal table. To be honest, I can't express how I feel right now, but I'm so sure that each and everyone is happy and they're glad that we're able to get the bronze. And I'm thankful to God.
Thank you. A lot of experience, a lot. One is that our athletes are priceless, and that we must have a continuous program of investment in training, in grant and support for them. There can be no substitute. Secondly, the preparation for an Olympics on the part of government and athletes is not a 1 year, 2 year thing. It's a 3 year, 4 year stretch. And you see the difference is very clear. So we must start early, we must work hard, and we must get there. Finally, the spirit of Olympics. What I learned clearly is that beyond winning, participation is key. The fact that athletes have qualified to even be at the Olympics is a major milestone because some countries did not show up at all. Some showed up with only 5 people. Participation is key. But also, whatever medal that is won, no matter the color, every single medal is worth its weight in gold.
Emmanuel, personally, I'm not impressed. And this Olympics, 1 silver and 1 bronze. Yes, we know that spirit of Olympics is participation. But beyond participation, I just feel that Nigeria has risen to that height that we should be able to give a good account of ourselves in some major events.
I mean, the disappointment is understandable for many Nigerians, especially the scandal that broke out from the games, even off the pitch. The fact that 10 of our athletes were considered ineligible and were disqualified from the events. The fact that one of our top medal hopeful was disqualified for some doping violation. The fact that some of our athletes who we even thought would do better, even the team captain, Aruna Quadri, who is ranked number 16 heading to the games, could not even go beyond the third round, which happens to be his first game. He was drawn by from the first 2 rounds to enhance his medal challenge, but it still fell apart. So it appears that the extension of 1 year for Nigeria did not count much when it comes to participation, and all the build up to the games, the intrigues leading up to the games finally caught up with Nigeria at the biggest stage. But I mean, a summary of all that happened: 60 contingents left Nigeria for the games in 10 sporting events, where we knew that athletics was going to be one of our strongest points. Wrestling was one of it. The basketball event to give Nigeria some hopes, especially some build, some warm-up games towards that event. So, but everything just fell apart at the biggest stage, and it was quite disappointing. But of course, there was still some bright spark. We cannot forget our 2 medal winners. I mean, kudos to them. Blessing Oborududu in the 58 kg women's freestyle event, as well as Ese Brume, who also got a medal in the long jump event. Toby Amusho is an honorable mention. She got to the final of the women's, although losing a medal narrowly by finishing 4th in the final. Enoch Adegoke becoming the first Nigerian male athlete to make it to the final of the 100-meter finals event is another bright prospect. Grace Walkocha, Elizabeth Ayanacho in the taekwondo. There are still some bright prospects that we should celebrate beyond the medal winners. And that's why I'm surprised that the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports Development is only coming back with the 2 medal winners. I don't think that displays the effort that some of the Nigerian athletes have made at the Games enough. Some of these athletes should also be encouraged going into Paris 2024.
Julie, now talking about, I remember athletics used to be one of our strengths. Yes. When we had the likes of Farila, Toshikoya, Oshiku, the likes of Bada, the likes of Diziwa brothers.
Fatima Yusuf, you know. Things are falling apart in sports in our country. When you talk about athletics, we used to dominate the short sprints. On this continent, no African country could look Nigeria in the face when it comes to the short sprints. Yeah. There were occasions when Nigeria would take first, second, third, and fourth.
Yeah, I remember that mobile track and field events every
So
2 years.
when we had Chidimo and Olapade Adenike, both of them among the 8 best in the world, always doing well in the competitions leading to the Olympics, the indoor tournaments, and the rest of them, you know. And we also had Innocent Egbunike, who started as a 100 meters runner. It was at Kwaspo 80 in Ilorin that he won the 100 meters event, and ultimately he got converted to 400 meters. And at his university in Alabama, he set the African record for 44.18 seconds back then. In those days, when it came to 4x400 meters, you were sure that the Nigerian team would be a medal hopeful, no matter what.
4x4, yes.
Yes, 4x400 meters.
You better.
Because we had world-class quarter milers in our country, which even Henry Ameke, who was a 400 meters hurdler, also joining them to in the relays, because as a 400 meters hurdler, he could do the 400 meters flat. So he was always joining them in the relays. So we had talents in the past. But when you look at even the short sprints now, some African countries have brushed us aside. You see South Africa showing us that we are not the fastest on the continent anymore. This same country, from the 1978 All-Africa Games, Nigeria had been dominating the 100 meters event for women. Today, we can't, that's in Africa, we can't dominate it. From the time of the Belgium sisters to Rufina Uba to Sunday Dare's special assistant, Mary Onyali, Tina Eheagwam, who was a world junior champion. Both Mary Onyali and Tina Eheagwam had done very well at junior level, even becoming among the best in the world. That was the time when we had the mobile athletics championship that you were talking about. We were sure that we would be able to produce
something
stars.
to look forward to.
And we also had, interestingly, we had athletics clubs. Athletics clubs. So in Lagos, for example, there were athletics clubs, just like football clubs. So talents will always emerge. People like Comfort Iragbon, they came out from athletics clubs. Akim Amid Adio was also a product of an athletics club. Now talk of Yusuf Ali, who at some point was one of the best long jumpers in the world. These guys won at Commonwealth level. But in our country now, look at all those events that we used to dominate. 400 meters, where we had the late Dele Udo, who was killed around Ojo Elegba back then. Where are we now in those events? You will struggle to find quality Nigerian athletes in the short sprints. Our systemic decline, we just didn't take note that the decline had begun. For us to be able to produce the right athletes at secondary school level, we must have competitions that will produce stars. On the day Olapade Adenike became a national star, I was at the Ilorin Stadium, where I won at Kwara 85, where I won the 100 meters dash. And he was a student of C&S College, Ilorin. I used to go and watch their inter-house games. His father was a member of the Athletics Association, AAA, of Kwara State in those days. When we had great, even great coaches. But today, things have changed. We place so much accent on the politics of sports than actually how people can get better.
This AFN thing, we went to the Olympics, the AFN was fractionalized.
The build-up to the Olympics, many of us had our own concerns that, the Olympics was going to be another charade or, a controversial moment for Nigeria. 3 months to the Olympics, the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development dissolved all the sporting federations. claiming that their tenure had expired, even when it was obvious that the Olympics extension by a year means that work should still continue in the build-up to the Olympics. Yes, many of these federations have a cycle around the Olympics, but since the Olympics has been extended by a year, it was ideal that their terms of office should have been extended. But the ministry took that decision, set up caretaker committees who, obviously couldn't even settle into office before the Olympics came calling, and that led to what we saw in the athletics event. Many of those athletes that were disqualified for out-of-competition testing was no fault of theirs. There should be a testing unit in the federation that would do spot check on these athletes without notice, just find out where you are, and the doping officials will come from the National Doping Center, test these athletes, take their samples from time to time, even before they go to competitions. Due to the brouhaha between the AFN faction and the sports ministry, those tests could not be done. And that led up to what, and that's why many of those athletes were protesting, because it was no fault of theirs. And so some section of the media where they were even saying they were banned. They were not banned. Some particularly they were only disqualified from competition.
So some particularly did not intentionally ingest those things. Things.
No, they were not. There's no evidence. There's no evidence that they even took any bad substance. The fact is just that they've not been tested. So it wasn't a result. It wasn't as if maybe they took some substance that are banned. The case that had something related to that is the case of Blessing Okagbari, who tested positive for an hormonal growth, substance.
She should be more experienced. Blessing.
Every day those doping substances are reviewed. So there's a case that and that's why we use the word alleged, because even the word athletics, the athletics integrity unit has not categorically come out to say she failed. It's just that she's provisionally suspended while investigations are ongoing. But of course,
the second sample is the result of the second sample out.
Not yet. But this cost Nigeria at the games. This cost Nigeria at the games because for as long as the athletics integrity unit is concerned, once you have a little issue, it could give you an undue advantage and it could dampen the integrity of the sport. So she had to be suspended, and that's one of the reasons. Leading up to the finals of the 100 meters, Blessing was looking good for the podium. She finished her heat in record time. She got to the semi-finals. She was about to compete in the semi-finals when that decision was made by the AIU, and she had to be suspended. So it's a big blow for Nigeria. But coming back to the issue, the AFN issues with the ministry is part of the reasons. It's a major part of the reason why Nigeria failed in athletics at the games. No doubt about that.
There was a time that I don't think we have any of those guys in these are short sprints that can do sub 10 again.
Yeah, luckily, interestingly, we had Enoch Adegoke do 9.98.
Adegoke did it in the heat.
He had a 9.9. He got to the final, and he was unlucky that he pulled an hamstring.
Yes.
In that final,
he could have.
He won the world number one, Bromell of the United States in the heats. He blazed through the semi-finals. He got to the finals. That was the first time Nigeria will be having someone in the finals since 1996. And it was poised to win a medal for Nigeria, but unfortunately the hamstring stopped him from achieving
I learned that the boy has always had issues, injury issues, especially hamstring and the rest, because of, he's so muscular. So his therapist always accompanies him everywhere. But for these Olympics, his therapist was not taken with him. So you know the way the Americans, when they spot you as a potential, as a medal hopeful, they spend so much money on you. Companies even adopt athletes. They will spend money on that athlete. They train. They spend their money to ensure that that athlete becomes the best that he can be. That boy is a raw talent. That Adegoke, for someone who had not been on the scene for long, to have that kind of performance. Yes. When I saw him, I said, what? Although I also had my fears that he could burn out. Because when you see at these games, the more experienced athletes, they don't run their best in the heats. They save their best for the last.
Just true.
And also in the months leading to the Olympics, some of them, because they are comfortable, they don't get involved in all of those tournaments. Those tournaments will fetch you money, you earn money, but you can also burn out.
You burn out.
So the Americans ensure that, look, their athletes are selective. They take part in only the cherry pick events that they take part, so that they can still maintain some freshness by the time the competition proper kicks off. But in the case of our athletes, because of sponsorship issues and all that,
and they need to qualify.
They need to take part in those races and all that. So once they take part in those races, you find that by the time the Olympics comes, some of them are already a bit tired.
They've gone beyond their peak.
Yes, you now see an Adenike placing 7th. You know, when before then he had been beating the same people that defeated him in the final. He had been beating them in the world indoors, beating them in other places. So this is the thing. A country like the US, they take Olympics as something to prepare for a period of 4 years.
And that's why they will continue
immediately
to dominate.
Look at now, we are seeing a situation in which the US is moving into even sports that they were not interested in before. You see, the US athlete stopped Oburududu from winning the Olympic gold.
Wrestling.
And the person that they fought her is someone of Ghanaian descent. Because from that name, Mensa, you know that this one is Ghanaian. Now, the US also shocked the world when they won the 800 meters for women. How often do you see the US win such races?
Their strength has always been in the sprints.
In the sprints. But there was somebody of East African descent competed for them and won it comfortably. She led from start to finish. And even the gap she gave them meant that if they had pushed her a little bit, she probably would have set a world record. Because the clock 53, 153, 155, whereas the record was 150. The clock 155 record was 53 or so. So which means that if they had pushed her right up to the finish line, she could have set a new mark. So the Americans are moving into other. Yes. But look at us.
And that's why their medal prospect at the games increased.
Yes.
I mean, we've seen Americans dominate in long distance races. We've seen them in combat sports, just like you rightly pointed out. We've seen Americans, and they still retain their natural strength, which is the sprints in the pool.
Let me take this call. Omale is calling us from Abuja. Thank you for joining us, Omale.
Omale.
Good afternoon to you guys.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, thank you so much. You see, as it concerns our performance in the Olympics, Ayo, let us be sincere with ourselves. It all boils down to preparation. If Nigeria had won more medals than the 2 that we won, I would have been surprised. Because you cannot do better than your level of preparation.
Yes.
Like in 2008, before the Beijing Olympics, I saw a documentary. And inside the documentary, I got something very amazing. For you to compete in the Olympics, you need to be 17 and a half before you can compete in the Olympics. And then, anybody who wants to win medals in the Olympics will not be preparing for the next Olympics. You prepare for 2 Olympics ahead. And then for you to win a gold medalist in the Olympics, you will need to have at least 12 years of preparation. That is, you are going into this Olympics, you are aiming for gold, you must have done 12 years of preparation. So if the average age of an Olympic gold medalist is 12 years of preparation, how old our athletes to start? They are supposed to start as early as 4 or 5 years. When you go to China, Babajide, they have Olympic school.
Yes.
That is what people go every 4 years to go and compete. That's true. And they have it as a school that people go to and participate. So constantly they are preparing. You can't match them.
Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your contribution. So nobody could break the record of Usain Bolt in 100 and 200 meters.
Usain Bolt would always remain immortal for many. 9.69. I mean, that's...
No, I think 9.54. 9.54. I think it's 2009. 2009.
Okay, the Berlin, the
yes,
one around in Berlin.
Yes, yes.
Well, it's still something. It's still a golden standard for many. But of course, looking at the games general, apart from Nigeria's participation, it's been a wonderful tournament.
Yes.
Tokyo showed us that they really prepared for this, although the pandemic delayed and almost truncated the games. But the standard of facilities we saw, the coverage, the organization was massive. It's just a pity that fans around the world could not come and experience the beauty of Japan. I mean, the Japan had it in place. It was happening at an unusual time, but yet Japan gave us a games that brought the world together, just like the IOC president gave in his closing remark, that the world has been united together with these games. But what does the take home for Nigeria? Yes, we can continue to look at the issues that happened leading up to this, but where do we go from here? Paris is just 3 years away from now. So how do we prepare for Paris 2024?
Okay, that will hold not in 4 years, in 3 years.
It's going in 3 years' time, because this is happening 1 year after. So we have just 3 years to prepare for that.
Less time.
The sport ministry, like Babajide rightly pointed out, must have an action plan. The schools, the school system, the university system must be incorporated in the developmental plan. And one key aspect is make standard facilities available. I've covered some inter-house sport events, right, for secondary school, and you'll see that the pitches or the tracks on which they are running are not even the standard measures. Many of these schools do not have standard facilities, and that affects the level of our preparation, the level of our performance for some of these upcoming stars. When they're already used to running under 8 seconds in a non-standard pitch, you call it 100 meters. When they get to a standard track, they would begin to struggle. So we need to expose them to the right facilities at the right time. Secondly, we must have a developmental plan in place. During these Olympics, we had Nigeria participating in some very unusual sports. We participated in canoeing, we participated in rowing, we participated in swimming. It's been a long time we participated in swimming at the Olympics. That are some gains that we can leverage on. We could leverage on that, we could build on that as well. We participated in the badminton event as well, which is interesting. So there are some gains that we can leverage on. Like you said in your opening remarks, it's not just about the medals. It's about participating and participating well.
Ayo is calling us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Ayo.
Good evening, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ayo.
My regards to Babatunde and the gentleman over there.
All right.
I just want to correct you. The book record was 9.58.
9.58. 9.58.
Yes,
okay, for the 100 meters.
And also, too, I want to comment on the issue of insecurity. You see, I don't know what's really happening in this country. And I think Babatunde has said a lot. And we keep saying, and we want to thank him for that. And I wish the military leaders are really listening to this program. If they listen to this program, they will really know what is happening in this country. I want to ask about do we have any special force in Nigeria? Special force. Because in the US, you have the Delta Force, you have the combat force, you have all other forces that are deployed for such things. Do we have any special force in Nigeria?
Yeah.
Everything, whenever there is problem, they just push the whole army. All armies to go and fight. Some armies are not trained specifically to go to, they are trained to kill. But there is a special force that should be created, that their job is to provide intelligence, use drones, another using drones, they don't use the Air Force. Like Abadine said, you know their camps. Go there.
Thank you.
Bomb from them.
Thank you for your contribution, Ayo. Julie, what should be our advice to our brother and friend, the sport minister, right now? Because he tried, he did what he could do, and now we should be looking ahead.
He should have done better than this. I don't want people to say, oh, it's because Jide is his friend, or they started their career together at the news. The same thing I would say to another sports minister is what I would say. 2 medals in wrestling and
long jump
are not enough. We expected Brume to get a medal because she had won a medal at the World Championship. So she's a world-class athlete. That one is not a surprise. That of Oburu Dudu is a surprise because even the person that we all expected will win something, that's the Odun Ayo. She lost in a manner that shocked many Nigerians. So Nigeria deserves more than this, and we have the potential to do better. Sunday, the sports minister has to put measures in place. I can see he's doing his best setting up stadia here and there, but there has to be a concerted effort to develop the talents that are there. Adegoke is a product of Noga Games.
That's
Nigerian University.
Games.
Yes, you know. So there are talents here. Some of our best who went abroad, they all started here. So the talents are still there. We need the competitions that will keep our athletes going. We need those competitions, and the sports ministry has to drive the efforts to revitalize our sports, especially the competitions. The competitions where talents are spotted. They have to be resuscitated. Those of them that are dead now, they have to be resuscitated, and then encourage athletes to go for training abroad, you know, ahead of tournaments. Look at the US. The US had always been strong in boxing. Remember the 1984 Olympics, Mark Breland and the rest of them, you know. Now, this since year 2000, their performance in boxing this time had been the best. The US, even their women's basketball team, won the gold for the 7th consecutive Olympics. That's to tell you that America did not go to these Olympics to joke. Many people thought China will be the overall winners.
Even until yesterday.
Yes, I had seen articles where America was being mocked, that America was saying that, oh, it won more medals overall than China, therefore they should be the overall winners. But on the final day delivered 3 gold medals to the US. The US was on 36 gold, China was on 38. And the US overtook China. One came from cycling, then the volleyball. Yeah. They won the female volleyball gold for the first time. And then the basketball. That was how America overtook them. And America was the only country at this Olympics that won more than 100 medals in total. Not even China. China won 80-something medals in total. So we have to work hard. Heaven only favors those who give their best. If you don't give your best, then don't expect to win.
What's up with this jersey thing? Puma, the Nigerian athletes complaining that they went there with only one jersey?
I think Babajide mentioned it in the summation there, that the ministry should try as much as possible while doing their oversight function, also put in place measures that will ensure that the federations function effectively. It still goes back to the brouhaha leading up to the games. The AFN, led by Ibrahim Gusso, got into a deal with Puma, $2.7 million worth. But I think the ministry has some question mark on that deal. And while some explanations could not be provided into what exactly were the issues wrong with the deal, the sports ministry made another arrangement. And in a press release by the Sport Ministry on Friday, they said it is their responsibility as supervising ministry to provide general outfits for Team Nigeria heading to the games. Although federations can decide to the outfits that they could wear for each of their competitions. Back and forth, Puma said they've already had an agreement with the AFN, but they were told not to. Of course, we know we have different AFN now. We have the one led by Chief Tono Bokokowa, who was elected a few weeks ago. And we have the one by Ibrahim Shehu Gusau, who is also...
Why is the problem? Why is the crisis there lingering?
Well, it's part of the drama. It's part of the drama that we've come to use, gotten used to in Nigerian sports, which of course has been bringing back our sports over the years. But we hope that with all that has happened at the Olympics, the sports ministry and the federal government will sit down and review this and ensure that this does not happen. It's a national embarrassment that our athletes are washing their jerseys, that 10 of our athletes were disqualified, that an international deal was terminated right there at the games. It's a big embarrassment, and I think if we as a people understand the value of integrity, we will look at this and ensure that it doesn't happen again. Paris is just 3 years away from now. So, and in between,
it's time to start preparing.
There's a time for us to start preparing and get this right.
It's like a unifying factor of sports.
Yes.
And
boxing we used to do very well in boxing.
We had no boxing.
We had no boxing. We were not represented.
No athlete representing us in weightlifting. No football team, both in the men's and women. So the Olympics is an eye-opener.
That we have declined. That Nigeria could not even qualify for women's football in the Olympics. We used to beat people silly, 7-0, 5-0 in Africa. Today we are struggling to even represent Africa. We can't. So many things need to be corrected, and the sports ministry has a lot of work to do. Coming home with just two medals is shameful. There are countries where there are less than 500,000 people. You know, countries less than 1 million, 2 million people.
For me, seeing this also breaks my heart. That the ministry is only interested in the PR. Because there are some athletes that, Babajide has rightly mentioned, that have done well, that should be encouraged. Toby Amusho, for whatever is what, should be encouraged. Yes. Finishing fourth. It's some level of achievement.
I think it was someone's hand touched her while they were...
when she was taking off.
So that one footed her.
These are guys that should be celebrated
on the party shot, what's the latest with Messi?
Lionel Messi had a press conference earlier today, an emotional one for him. He shed a lot of tears in that one where he confirmed that he will be leaving Barcelona, a club that he has played for 21 years and won 34 trophies. On PSG, it appears that may be his likely destination. He admitted that talks are ongoing, but nothing has been agreed yet. But of course, it opens a new chapter for Spanish football. In an off-season, they lost Sergio Ramos, they lost Lionel Messi, and both of them headed towards the same direction.
I saw
people used to be rivals.
I saw this thing making around on the social media. Lionel Messi on Arsenal jersey.
People like to make fun of Arsenal. Just because Arsenal has never won a Champions League. They like making fun of Arsenal. They know that Arsenal is a club of penny pinchers. They don't spend money. So just remember the deal for Pepe.
78 million.
How many years are they going to pay for that? So they know that Messi, that's the last place that Messi can go.
But they are not playing Champions League.
And they have never won Champions League.
They are not even going for any European competition.
How will Messi find himself in national?
Under Wenger, they entered 3 European finals and never won anyone during the Wenger years.
For Arsenal. Emmanuel, thank you for your contribution.
Thank you for having me always.
And Jide, doing a wonderful production again for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. And that's our offering. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. And we're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.